Good morning from Wiesbaden, Germany. My name is Billy Reinstatler, and for this week's discussion post, I'll be discussing grants, specifically looking at how one might get a grant from the Charles Koch Foundation. And I specifically looked at would want to look at the contributions of various nations to the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, and more broadly, the readiness of NATO's defense posture in Europe. Having served in Germany and the United States Army Europe and Africa headquarters now for about 19 months, I'm somewhat familiar with NATO. I have not worked directly with them in my capacity here, although my office did have one project that we started with them. I did, however, work with NATO allies and partners on both of my deployments to Afghanistan under the Resolute Support Mission. And so I'm somewhat familiar with our allies. Being in Europe, the current geopolitical status of the situation in the Ukraine and Russia is something I'm dealing with every day, and we continue to monitor the flow of material and aid into the Ukraine from both the United States and our allies and partners. So, all that said, I believe that the Charles Koch Foundation would provide an excellent venue to study the viability of the NATO alliance in the present day, as well as its contributions of individual NATO members. Currently in Europe, there are serious discussions going on about what the force posture should look like here. Specifically, I mean the United States Army is discussing what forces should be permanently stationed in Europe versus what forces should come on a rotational basis, which is something we've done for about the past 7 or 8 years. I myself spent about 5 months in Poland in 2019, and that was kind of my first exposure to Europe other than transiting through to the Middle East. And so it gave me an appreciation for the alliance and what it is capable of. However, I think there are, again, serious discussions going on about what our force structure should be like. Do we need to ramp back up to what we had in the Cold War days before the wall fell, with tens of thousands, if not more, soldiers and their families here in Germany, or not? So the Charles Koch Foundation provides grants in a wide variety of areas, including post-secondary education, veterans issues, healthcare, technology, and one area titled The Future of America's Alliances under its foreign policy umbrella. So if I were to develop a grant proposal, I would seek funding to travel to NATO's Supreme Headquarters, Allied Powers Europe, or SHAPE headquarters, which is in Belgium, and to conduct research on the status of the alliance, examining the contribution of each member nation, looking at how potential expansion might affect the geopolitical situation in Europe. There are serious conversations going on when this conflict is over. Will Ukraine seek to join NATO? Are there other nations that would seek to join NATO, and how will that impact, in this case, Russia or other key players within Europe? So I believe that this research would be relevant given the current state of affairs as I've laid it out in Europe. Again, we've been monitoring the situation with Ukraine very closely, and every day I deal with the excess requirements we have to move things and the limited amounts of transportation that we have to do so. Another area we could look at is the NATO Support and Procurement Agency, which is in Luxembourg, which provides transportation logistics for NATO. And so I think it's important to recognize what the requirements for a grant are. So the foundation requires an abstract, CV, and brief budget. And so those are some things to keep in mind when proposing a grant. Thanks for watching.